we are going to have the national anthem presented by the high school ensemble. Thank you to the Greene County Schools Ensemble, and they will present a closing piece for us also. I just have a few short remarks to let you know that 100 years ago today, at this hour, this courthouse building was dedicated. At this hour, 100 years ago. At that time, we had 10,000 people on the courthouse square going through and taking tours of this. 2 years ago, I'll have to go back. 2 years ago, I presented an idea to the Board of Supervisors that, well, you know, in 2 years we're going to be 100, and we just maybe should think about giving a party for the old girl. And they were good enough to go along with me, and I appreciate that. In fact, they were so willing to go along with me that when we did the groundbreaking, we did a groundbreaking reenactment exactly 100 years from the original groundbreaking in November of 1915 and November of 2015. I talked them all into doing a reenactment of the spade turning and the groundbreaking, and I made them all wear little funny hats of the time, and they were all really good sports, and I appreciate that. So I knew that we were off to a great program. 2 years is a long time, but it's flown by for our committee. We did a cornerstone reenactment in May of 2016, exactly 100 years from the date. And we also invited the Masonic Lodge of Iowa and our local Greene County Masonic Lodge members to take part, and they did a fantastic rededication of our cornerstone in May of 2016. So that leads up to today. And I'm overjoyed this morning. We had probably one of the largest Java and Juice endeavors. And we followed that up with tours throughout the morning. There will be tours following this program. And just to mention, we've gone through about 650 students this week. And we expect another 100 students on Monday from Peyton-Churdan. So altogether, we will run about 750,000 students through this building to create an awareness of the importance of this county courthouse. One of the things that we were looking at is creating a good awareness of coming to the courthouse. I can always tell when someone is from out of town and comes into the courthouse, because immediately the first thing that they do is stop and look at the mosaic. We in Greene County we've seen it, we kind of take it for granted, but tourists always stop and take a look at that. So what we wanted to do was create an awareness for Greene Countyans. And I think we've done a pretty good job with the tours and some printed publications on the importance of this mosaic and also the stained glass up above. You know, when you come to the courthouse, being a Greene County resident, maybe you're not in the best frame of mind when you come here. You come here because you got to pay a ticket, or you got to pay your taxes, or you have a complaint of some sort. We wanted to bring you in here for a whole nother reason and kind of make this courthouse look to you as it does to a tourist. And I think we've accomplished that goal. And this afternoon afterwards, you can take tours and maybe appreciate this in a little different light than what we have from day to day. I will remind everyone to make sure that you sign in out here, and we get a count on everyone that's here. Going back to the mosaic, there was one day that Chuck Offenberger was looking at the mosaic, and I couldn't tell him who the artist was for this. Chuck's been doing an outstanding job of searching this out, and he's not going to quit until he finds out the true story behind this mosaic. There's a lot of mystery, but we've uncovered a lot. And in fact, that day he wanted me to estimate how many pieces of tile were in that, and the largest piece is probably 3/4 of an inch. And so I did some calculations and come up with about 48,000 pieces in this mosaic. Now, you've all done jigsaw puzzles, and what's the biggest jigsaw puzzle you've done? Maybe 1,000 piece? 48,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. I have to recognize some people that helped us get started. 2 years ago, we were in need of some funds, and Terry Rich, famous Cooper resident and celebrity now, came to Jefferson to do a book signing. He did the book signing for Dare to Dream, Dare to Act, and it was a informal book signing in the South Lobby of the courthouse in 2015. He dedicated all the proceeds from that book signing to help us in the Courthouse 100 committee to get started and get rolling. And then I also have to mention another sponsor that came on board, another large sponsor to help us with our advertising, and that was Wild Rose of Jefferson. So we do appreciate that. Over here with the food, we've got the Beta Tau Delta sorority. I failed to mention them this morning, but they are also celebrating 100 years at the same time that we are, and we really appreciate all their hard work today and getting the snacks and the food around. So, as I said before, the Greene County Board of Supervisors gave us the carte blanche to go ahead with this. They even give us the permission to go in the attic and the basement, which has been pretty awesome. We really have to think. Not everybody gets to go to the attic and the basement during the week, but this is a special day, so thank you so much. And now I'd like to introduce our board that we have. John Muir back here, Dawn Rudolph, and I think she was here this morning. She's here? Oh, there she is, behind the pillar. Tom Countner. Where you at, Tom?
He's here. I'm here right now.
Okay. He's coming in. Okay, Tom Countner, Mick Burkett right beside him, and Pete Bardot. All right. I have one other group that has been with us for 2 years. Fantastic group. Each one of them has come on board with an area of expertise that when we decide to do something, well, I can do that, and they just take it over, run with it, and have done a fantastic job. In fact, Mary has said they're going to go through some committee withdrawal after we stop meeting. I think we'll probably meet for a couple times after that, but it's been a great committee that's gotten together and done a lot of planning and a lot of work, and I need to recognize those at this time. Chuck Offenberger, Mary Weaver. There she is, back by the popcorn. Tori Riley, back here. Pat Richards, there we go. Mike and Diane People. All right. And our Board of Supervisors representative, Pete Bardot, over there. And Denise O'Brien, who was instrumental in helping us get the Palm card together and did most all of the writing for that. And she was on our committee for the first year, and then she's had to back off due to some other issues that she's had to deal with. So we want to keep her in all of our thoughts and prayers. Jean Van Gelder and myself. So thank you, committee. And now I just have one shameless advertisement. If you would like, we do have commemorative cups of the Courthouse 100 with the Courthouse 100 logo. And that, I'll tell you how that Courthouse 100 logo came about was through a design session back and forth with several different conference calls with Crystal Berger, who is Bill and Shelley Berger's daughter. And so she actually designed that logo, and then the mugs were all ordered through Shine On Designs. So we only have 72 of them, and you know Christmas is coming, so they may be in short supply after this afternoon. So welcome, and thank you for attending. We have some remarks to be made now, and first off I will introduce the Board of Supervisors Chairman, John Muir.
Thank you. And on behalf of the supervisors, I'd like to welcome all of you here today. I'd like to thank the committee for all the work they've done in the 2 years of putting it together and making such a showcase of the day. And I'd really like to thank the employees that work here every day. And this building just makes you have pride in it, makes you respect it, and they perform their duties, I hope, in the same way. I know they do in the same way. And I think they're a great bunch. 100 years is just, us as supervisors, it's just fortunate we happen to be the 5 supervisors at this time. I asked Jane Hewen, our auditor, if she had any idea how many supervisors there have been, and quickly I got the feeling it was going to be a task, and if it was going to be a task for her to add up all those numbers and people, I thought, there's no way I'm going there. It's just a lot of people have put in time over the years, and supervisors are from every corner of the county. The building represents everybody in the county, and I hope everybody has pride in what it is. Over that 100 years, I was thinking this morning, I was in the tractor and I thought, 100 years ago, they weren't climbing out of tractors to do anything. They were walking along, they were throwing ears of corn. And so it's amazing that this building has taken 100 years as well as it has. And I think in the last 2 years, we've redone the domes, and our intention is that it's got another good 100 years left in it. So with that being said, I just thank all of you for coming, and enjoy the day.
Thank you, John. And now we'll hear some remarks from the Greene County Historical Society, Roger Eggeter.
I'm here representing the Greene County Historical Society Museum. The Historical Society would like to congratulate the Greene County supervisors, the county courthouse staff, and the courthouse committee for the vision, dedication, and drive to ensure a historical treasure like the courthouse will be maintained, preserved, and promoted in the years to come in the historical Main Street part of Jefferson. So thanks to all the Greene County people also for believing that their history is important to preserve. I also felt that it was my duty to try to search the museum for some significant courthouse history. And we've shared some with them over the years and that we've had. But I think I found a genuine artifact in the back room. A previously undocumented story can now be verified. I have with me the chicken that was thrown off the roof of the courthouse years ago. Thank you very much.
And Roger's on his way up to the roof to throw that chicken down, I think, and Chuck's going to catch it. Is that right? 100 years ago, we had, as I mentioned, 10,000 people on the grounds and for tours. And there was, this was quite a feat for a county to have such a structure that you would normally see in the state capitol or in Washington, D.C. Think about it, this building is not the same type of architecture that we have in Jefferson. It's reminiscent of what you would see in the Capitol. And then, so actually back then they called this a little state capitol. On that day, the governor of Iowa was here to help commemorate and celebrate this. Unfortunately, Governor Reynolds sends her regrets she could not be here. She had already been scheduled to an event in southeast Iowa today. And so we have our state representative, Chip Baltimore.
A poor substitute for Governor Reynolds, I will give you that. You know, thank you all so much for coming out today on this wonderful occasion. It's great to see so many friends and wonderful faces in the crowd. As an attorney, I've had the opportunity to travel around the state and make it into many of the courthouses in the counties. And I also have the privilege and honor of working in the state capitol, which I believe is the most beautiful state capitol anywhere in the country. But I can tell you, when I walk into this building, and I've been spending some time in this building off and on throughout the years, I can honestly tell you that right here in Greene County, you have one of the most beautiful, well-maintained, and historic courthouses anywhere in the state. And I hope that it brings you all a great sense of pride to have this monument here to all the people that had the foresight 100 years ago, 102 years ago when they started construction of this building, and all of the people that have helped maintain it throughout the years, because this really is one of the fundamental building blocks of any good county seat community in Iowa. And you should be very, very proud of that. So I'm very happy to be here today and to help you all celebrate. And I would simply ask Judge Ostlund to not repeat any stories about my time as an attorney here while he's wandering around the hallways. But in any event, congratulations to all of Greene County, and let's have a great celebration for a centennial for this wonderful courthouse. So thank you all so much for having me.
Our next remarks will be given by Steve Stimmel, retired architect from Brooks Morgan Skiles architectural firm in Des Moines. That firm was an outgrowth of the original architectural firm that designed this courthouse. And as a matter of fact, this firm still retains our original blueprints and specifications. And Steve is here along with Wayne Smith to represent that firm, and I'll ask Steve to make a couple of remarks.
Thank you, Don. Last year at the centennial event of the laying of the cornerstone, I spoke about the architects of the Greene County Courthouse. So this is a very encapsulated version of that. Since that talk, Wayne Smith and I, until I retired, worked a little bit on putting together the specifications to acquire bids for the rehab of the dome. And since then, there's been a lot more local documentation going on to try to understand why the artwork is so incorporated into the architecture. And that still remains a mystery. Where did the stone carvers come from? Where did the ceramic tile craftspeople come from? Why did the architects include so much art in the original building? That is one of the mysteries that we're trying to solve. So I will share a little bit about the architects who were just the architects, they were also the engineers. So all of the built-in vacuum systems, the heating and cooling, the electrical, was all done in-house, which is an unusual characteristic. There are some firms that do that today, but then I don't know how many there were back in the mid-teens. So William Willis Proudfoot and George Bird began their professional practice together in Wichita, Kansas in 1886 before coming to Des Moines in 1895. So, 10 or 11 years before, they were already in practice. The firm lineage, as Don said, has continued for about 122 years in Des Moines as Brooksborg Skiles. Wayne Smith went down to Wichita to visit and photograph the 9 known remaining buildings in Wichita. Harry Rawson joined Proudfoot and Bird in 1910 after collaborating and working as a partner with Mr. Hallett. They worked on the Campanile at Iowa State and did several other buildings throughout the central Iowa area. From 1901 until 1923, the firm designed 5 Iowa courthouses, all in use today. They designed Dallas County in 1902, Polk County, Des Moines in 1906, Jasper County, Newton in 1911, this building completed in 1917, and Pocahontas County in 1923. So they had a lineage of courthouses in addition to a lot of other public buildings. So we would call this classical revival style today. Then it was termed the American Renaissance or Renaissance Revival. You'll see that term a lot in the historical documents. But the style was really borrowed from ancient classical periods of Greece and Rome, and that became popular right after 1900 as a United States style. So the comment about it being a Capitol type building is very true. By the time they designed this courthouse, they had over 15 years of experience designing in the classical revival design mode. And I believe it started at Schaefer Hall at the University of Iowa, which was a design competition that they entered and won. One of the people that had the final decision on the architect for that building at the University of Iowa, then called Collegiate Hall and the Hall of Liberal Arts for a while, was somebody from the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago of 1893, and he was a classicist. So apparently they either knew it, and so if you know who one of the jurors are and you might be able to please the jury, then maybe that's how they got their start. But they were selected, and that kind of launched them into an amazing career where they designed almost all of the big stone monumental buildings at Iowa, Iowa State, and the brick buildings at UNI of the same period, between 1900 and 1930. The other factor is that the firm has an extensive library of old books about Greek and Roman architecture and architecture of Europe of all styles that they used apparently as references for their designs. So we think that a lot of it was borrowed, a lot of it was inspired by the ancient periods of the classical period. So it's a perfect kind of a building for a courthouse. The classical style really continued through the 1920s. Pocahontas was nearing the end of that period. And then buildings started to change drastically. One of the things we found in the files more recently, and I think Don knows it, I don't think I've told anybody else, but in the mid-century modern period, they did the ceramic tile storefront across the street of the county, Greene County. So we found the drawings in the files, and it shows all of the tile designed in-house by the firm. So at that time, they were doing the designs in-house, but that was a neat lineage to find to a later period. And that's the thing about the courthouse. It has this fine craft that goes along with the monumental building, the courtroom, how it was designed, how people go through the building, the functional things. It has crafted floors, it has crafted railings on the grand stair, skylights. And so the really ending point I want to make is the same one that you hear every day. How well the county has cared for this building. And it's, you know, it's just a thrill for an architect to come into a building and see it taken care of this well. So I thank you for that.
At this time, we're going to have a poem read. The poem was written by one of our own local artists, Colleen O'Brien. And to read that poem, The Courthouse in Jefferson, will be Tori Riley.
It's a real honor for me to get to read this poem written by Colleen. She was a 1962 graduate of Jefferson High School. She left to more exciting places, like a lot of people have, and she came back, like a lot of people also come back. She came back in 2001. She has done a lot of writing about growing up in Jefferson. When our Main Street group, when Jefferson Matters was organizing and doing the application to become a Main Street town, she was one of the primary writers of articles and collectors of information that built up an almost mythical vision of growing up in Jefferson. And after talking to people today, I think she was probably pretty accurate with the way she did that. The poem that she wrote is a list poem for those who pay attention to kinds of poems. She first wrote this in 2002, and she changes it every time she can. She says it's kind of like a memoir for the town and for the courthouse. And just like when a person writes their memoirs, it changes as you age and your perspective changes, this changes. People who know Colleen will pick up some of her very lovable cynicism in this poem about some things, and also some very fun whimsy. You'll hear that too. I'll warn you, it is a long poem, although not the longest version. This one goes 3.5 pages. The real one goes 11 pages. It's not the Gettysburg Address, it's a little longer. The Courthouse in Jefferson. In the courthouse, the echoes rise off the cornucopia floor. Voices, voices. A cornucopia of justice, business, prayer, song, question, chatter, misery, laughter, judgment, rising up to the glass dome. I lie down on a bed of grain ingrained into the floor, mosaic tiles laid on by tile layers hired to do art 100 years ago. Their lovely, sturdy, much trod upon craft still celebrates the breadbasket of the world, the home of the Horn of Plenty. I lie on my back, angel-like, on the Horn of Plenty, looking for meaning. Mostly there are dust motes rising. I would rise with them, light as a mote. I would levitate, I would ascend. I would acquire the mote's views of all who have passed here, all who have trod upon plenty. But first, I must record at the recorder's office my record of sadnesses. People dead, people buried, people gone somewhere, family and friends out of touch, out of mind, no longer a daily memory. But there they are in ledgers, in ink forever. Then I will treasure in the treasurer's office my good fortune in being born to cornucopia land. Once corn cribbed by farmers on 160 acres of family, now few corn cribs left for the farmers who are left to pay their taxes to the treasurer. Out in the countryside, I don't see much life. No running around of kids, cows, pigs, farm wives, chickens. Lonely out there, but a good thing. With fewer farmyard night lights, the indigo bowl reveals the Milky Way all summer long. I go to the clerk's office merely to remind someone that I was a clerk and a soda jerk at Tucker's Pharmacy, once Lyons Drugs, South Side, gone now, and as most of the businesses around the square are gone, 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 except in old phone books and in mind's eye of old-timers. Time to judge in the judges' chambers, a hidey-hole for respite from judging or not to judge. Time moves along, things change. Who am I to judge? I am not Judge Harris, my favorite judge, now moved in with the big judge in the sky. Nor am I Judge Hanson, famous judge, from poor boy with clubbed foot to federal court. A true Jefferson story, an American commonplace. A boy, a youth, a man reared on little, even in the home of the Horn of Plenty, who became a judge by God and consorted with the best, as well as the worst, Iowa had to offer, what with criminals and judges being necessary to one another. It is not for me to judge, but another American commonplace. I do. I judge and jury in the juror's dormitory, a quaint idea, now defunct, where once 12 cots bedded 12 peers of the accused. There is a shower, a toilet, at a time when most of America was more familiar with outhouses. Quite the modern courthouse, our courthouse. And the art. Second floor murals of greatness, pioneers, farmers, industrialists in muted colors, some redone in vibrant hue. Noble, art worthy of a dream of a country as it could be, as well as of such a handsome building. Now prone on the tiles of the rotunda, I see close at hand the symbol of plenty, wealth, sweat, pride, an inexhaustible source. From my floored perspective, I spy a hole in the wall, a tube actually. It is a central vac. I learned from a courthouse denizen that it was installed at construction. What modernity! At a time when women scrubbed on hand and knee, beat rugs on clotheslines, had no vote, let alone a vacuum cleaner. The great house sucked all its dirt into the basement. Oh, what treasure lies there in the cobweb dark. Buttons, pennies, hayseeds, corn grains, bits of official papers, butts discarded from puffed-on cigars, cigarettes, cigarillos under this many-colored dome, rings, watches, ankle bracelets, a dress sucked off the body of a juror after 1920, 19th Amendment to the Constitution, pens, pencils, nibs, love notes, bubble gum, toupees, grand pianos, a Buick, a Parker roll or two from Shoppy's Cafe, weeds of all phyla, June bugs, cicada shells, perhaps a snow shovel, a snow boot, an earmuff, oh wow, a sled, a megaphone, yay red, yay black, there's junk in the basement. What other things got sucked in there into the dank dark of the cornucopia's underbelly? Ideas, hope, abortion lore, lust in somebody's heart, secret deals, money exchanged, a little blackmail here and there, free thought, free speech, freedom stolen in the night. What might have escaped the courthouse vacuum? Honest treasurers, thorough janitors, juries of folks brave and true, a judge now and then of deep compassion who drank gin when he could get it. This is a courthouse with names of dead warriors but no poets, dead or alive, known or obscure. Nevertheless, Greene County Courthouse is grand. I love the wide, shallow steps, the marble worn under my feet, and those of thousands before me, trudging up to pay taxes or get a driver's license, an absentee ballot, and all the way up to the courtroom to be on the jury, to watch a trial, to be on trial. The courtroom holds no ghosts for me, but they are there, hovering along the gold leaf ceiling near the very fine Tiffany-style skylight, daunting in its richness. The whole room a show of wealth and power, intimating who's got it and who gets away with it. Our courthouse, in the end, is a noble building with noble goals of endurance in the face of bank runs, war, peace, drought, bumper crops, foreclosure, murder. Not to mention the times they are changing. They've always been so. As the courthouse holds our secrets and our facts, all those stored in the big windowed offices on 2 floors around the rotunda, and all those neatly vacuumed from sight. A revered house, our courthouse, serving up justice, cookies, music, Paul's stump speeches, awards, and straight lemonade, no spike. And all through it, we've esteemed and valued and loved the classical beauty, cared for and taken pride in, mended cracks and fissures, polished surfaces, replaced dead trees, updated pipes and windows and ceilings and artwork, bathrooms, water fountains, roofs, and chimneys. Someday, far from now, the Soups will hire an antiquarian, an archaeologist or two, and someone who cleans basements. And that's the end.
It is my honor today to introduce our guest speaker, Judge Robert B. Hanson, 1974 graduate of Jefferson High School and currently serving in Iowa's 5th Judicial District. Bob graduated from Stanford University in 1978 and the University of Iowa Law School in 1981. He returned to Jefferson to serve as law clerk for Supreme Court Justice David Harris for 1 year, then practiced law in Des Moines for 21 years before being appointed to the bench in 2003. It is only fitting and memorable to have Judge Hanson as our speaker today. His father, Federal Court Judge William C. Hanson, gave the keynote address to a similar crowd at this very courthouse when it was added to the National Register of Historic Places 38 years ago on May 18, 1979. William Hanson began that day by saying what a privilege it is to be asked to speak. When I called Bob with a similar request for the event today, his response was just the same. The Honorable Robert B. Hanson, Judge of the Iowa District Court.
You know, I thought that it would be someplace in my speech that I might start to tear up. And now they've got it started already, and I haven't said a word. So forgive me if I have to pause every now and then. I never thought of myself as a terribly sentimental person, but you know, as you live a little bit longer, you start to discover some things about yourself, and so like I say, bear with me. When Pat gave me the call and invited me to do this, I was, needless to say, very pleased, very honored. But I was kind of puzzled because, yes, I'm a native of Jefferson, and yes, I have a lot of connections to this building, but I really thought that there were probably any number of other people that would be better selected to do this. people that were older, people that were wiser, people that knew the courthouse better than I did. So, you know, I kind of wondered a little bit. I don't see myself as an old guy, but I am 61 years old now, so maybe I need to rethink that a little bit. It kind of reminded me of an event that occurred down in Des Moines about 6 or 8 months ago, where I received some recognition from a local group. And the recognition that they gave me was called a Lifetime Achievement Award. And when I heard that name, I was thinking of people that I'd seen like on TV, you know, in the Oscars. George Burns, you know, 95, 100 years old. And I thought, you know, I'm really pleased to get this recognition, but I would rather that you not call it a Lifetime Achievement Award. It makes me think that I've done everything I'm ever going to do and there's nothing left, you know, so it's time to recognize me. But, you know, after that event, and as I thought about this occasion, I started to think, you know, first off, age-wise, you know, I know this building is 100 years old, but like I say, I'm 61. I've been around for over 60% of its existence. So maybe I do know a couple of things about the building. And secondly, I do have quite a few connections to this building, and we'll get into some of those here in a little bit. But even though there are other people here, many people that I recognize, I see a lot of familiar faces. I guess I'm fine if you are with me giving you my impressions of this occasion. You've already heard a little bit about my history, and some of you already know it. I was, along with all my brothers and sisters, I was born here in Jefferson, as were my parents. Here we go. See, the voice is starting to crack. And I went to school here, graduated from here, from high school here in 1974. Haven't really lived here full-time since that time. In fact, now I've probably spent more of my life, I guess, obviously, not just probably, obviously I've spent more of my life living in other places than here. But you know, I've never forgotten this place or this building. I had the same kinds of contacts with this building that many of you have had. I came here to get my first learner's permit and to get my first driver's license. I participated in events because major events here in Jefferson were always conducted here, up here on the square. And I've been to the courthouse for many other reasons on many other occasions. All of them good, though. All of them good. But I have more than just those, what I'm going to call those kind of normal contacts with the courthouse. One of my earliest memories, and I'm not talking about any specific occasion, but when Dad would come down here to hold court, he would oftentimes stop at the barber shop before he came over here. Forrest McClurg, some of you probably remember him. He was my dad's barber, just off the southwest corner of the square here. And he'd take me with him, and then I would accompany him over here to the courthouse. I don't have a whole lot of recollections about that, except that I know that there was this back staircase from the clerk's office up to the courtroom, and I was always intrigued by that. In fact, probably other people have more memories of me than I do of them, because I suspect that they babysat for me while I was here, while Dad did his stuff. But in addition to that, I had other contacts with this courthouse. After I left Jefferson and after I had graduated from law school, as you've already heard, I came back here and I worked here for a year. I clerked for Justice David Harris. And so I kind of reacquainted myself with the courthouse. After that clerkship was completed, I moved to Des Moines and I practiced law there for 21 years and then was appointed a judge in 2003, and that's what I've done for the last approximately 15 years. While I was a lawyer, I tried a number of cases here. In fact, I'll tell you one funny story. I came here for a lawsuit and we were picking the jury, and the opposing attorney during the jury selection process asked some questions that are pretty customary, trying to figure out if the jurors were going to be biased towards me or my client, especially since I was from here in Jefferson originally. And he asked one of the jurors, one of the prospective jurors, Betty Shaw, if she knew me. And she said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Well, how long have you known him?" And she said, "Well, ever since he was a little baby." That ended that line of questions. I think he knew at that point that he was going to get similar answers from everybody, so there was no avoiding that kind of bias if it existed. So I tried lawsuits here. So I've had at least 3 different periods in my life when I had a lot of contact with the Polk County Courthouse. My dad told me one time that he, during his career as an Iowa district judge, had had the opportunity to try some cases down in the Polk County Courthouse. That's one thing that I haven't had the opportunity to do. And I'm guessing that it's probably not ever going to happen, but I will tell you this: if I ever have a chance to come up here and try a lawsuit as a judge, then the circle will be complete. Here is the main thing that I want to say today. And I'm glad that our architect here has shown up because I'm going to work that in, some of the remarks that he made, into what I have to say. One thing that you realize, maybe you don't realize it while you live here in Jefferson, especially as a young kid. But one thing you definitely realize after you leave: this is a pretty remarkable place. This town, for its size, is a pretty remarkable town. And the people that have lived here in the past and live here now, and people that will live here in the future, have done some remarkable things. The town has an incredible heritage. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to recite it all or to refer to it all, so I brought my source material with me. And I'm guessing that a lot of you have seen this book, The Heritage of Greene County, that was produced a few years ago. I was elated when I found out that somebody was putting this together. And I immediately ordered a copy and made every one of my siblings get one too. What a wealth of information, and in particular, a wealth of information about the courthouse. Now, as you can see, I tabbed a lot of the pages here because I thought they had relevant information. But then I came in here and I forgot my readers in the car. So now the print is too small, I can't see it, so I'm just going to have to go by memory. So anyway, maybe that'll shorten the talk up a little bit and we'll all be happy about that. But You know, this whole town, as I said, has an incredible heritage. And the people that have lived here have created that heritage, as have the physical structures. If you go through this book and you look through the list of the people, for example, that have gotten the Tower of Fame Award at the Bell Tower Festival, there are there's a world-renowned pollster, there's an astronaut, there are accomplished physicians and lawyers and business people and military figures. It is astounding, even to me, as a native of this town, it is astounding to me to go through that list of all these people that came from this town. And a lot of them have inhabited this building. And I know I'm biased because my dad was one of them. But it's not just selfish interest. One of the things that you learn when you live someplace else, and I've been in Des Moines now since 1982. You mentioned Jefferson, Iowa, or Greene County, and everybody now down there knows where it is. Everybody knows where Greene County and Jefferson, Iowa are. Its stature around the state is incredible. I challenge any other county or county seat town comparatively to equal that, let alone exceed it. And that heritage has to be preserved. As a lawyer and as a judge, talking about courthouses in particular, as a lawyer and as a judge, I went through the map of the counties here the other day and tried to figure out how many courthouses I've seen that I've personally worked in and have some knowledge of. And it's somewhere between 30 and 35. I can tell you right now with complete confidence that this is the best preserved courthouse of its vintage in that entire group, without a question. And I've got to give kudos to the architecture firm that apparently designed it. Now I will tell you this, they also designed the Polk County Courthouse, and I've worked there for almost 15 years. It was built in 1906. This one was built in 1917. They definitely learned something in those 11 years. They definitely picked it up a notch or two. Because you know, we're about, down in Des Moines, we're about to embark on a remodeling, combination kind of restoration and updating of the Polk County Courthouse to the tune of about $20 or $30 million. This is not uncommon around the state, including with buildings that are much, much younger than either the Polk County Courthouse or this courthouse. Very interestingly and coincidentally, I saw in the Register just a day or so ago that the Woodbury County Courthouse is going to celebrate its 100th anniversary in a few months. And as part of the celebration, the folks in that county are going to get stuck with about a $12 million tab to do repairs that are needed on the building. And that's a building that's the same age, basically, as this one. Just south of Des Moines, in Warren County, where the courthouse was built, I think, sometime in the 50s. So a much younger building than this one. They're going to tear the place down. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. We even pulled all the court operations out of the building a year or two ago in the 5th District because it wasn't healthy for the people that worked there. Isn't it amazing that this building basically exists in the same condition? There have been, to my knowledge, there have been no real fundamental changes in this building in 100 years. 100 years. That's pretty amazing. These kinds of structures need to be maintained, need to be preserved. And the folks of Greene County have done that. So I want to conclude my remarks by thanking all of the folks of Greene County and the folks of Jefferson. What a wonderful job you have done to preserve this key part of this county's heritage. I applaud you for doing this. I do it on behalf of all of those people that have come and gone before us here now, people that are here now, and people that will come in the future that have created the heritage of this town, of this county. I applaud you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to participate in this wonderful event.
What I hold in my hand is a list of items that will be placed in the time capsule. The original time capsule, though, from 1917 is placed directly under the cornucopia, straight northeast, and is buried under 6 feet of concrete. One of the most interesting items found in the time capsule was written by the Jefferson Bee in September of 1915. The Bee made an article reporting that a gallon jug of prime Iowa whiskey was found in the time capsule, but it was only half full. It was speculated by the Jefferson Bee in 1915 the other half was drank by the Board of Supervisors. You know, I had the pleasure of being auditor of this county for 12 years, and I'll never forget, 3 or 4 weeks after I was able to start the job here, an old timer came up to me. He had been here for over 40 years. And he said, "Mike," he says, "this courthouse is like the old television series, The Naked City." And I said, "Well, why is that?" He says, "There's 1,001 stories and you can't believe any of them." The following items will be placed in the time capsule 2017. It was constructed by Kelly Rice of Jefferson. It is steel. It will be welded shut. It will be glued shut. It will be so tight you will never be able to break into it for at least 100 years. It will include the following: a wind turbine model from Junction Hilltop Wind, a Greene County flag, Greene County Medical Center's t-shirts, keychains, Investing in Tomorrow's Care tabloids, and the Foundation's January 2016 publication, Always. A jar of Greene County soybeans. A jar of Greene County corn. An Iowa map. The 2016 Bell Tower Festival tabloid. The 2016 Bell Tower Festival schedule of events. A letter from Wild Rose Casino and Resort and commemorative silver coins, custom mint Wild Rose gold coins from August 2015. A letter from Greene County from Iowa State University talking about the services they provide and telling about all the corn and soybean statistics from Greene County. There's also a letter from the Greene County Community Schools. There's a letter from the Peyton-Sheridan Community Schools with a photo of all the students and staff. There are screen prints of the following: a Greene County News Online website, Courthouse Cornerstone 100-year rededication ceremony story, an About Us page, business card from Victoria Riley, the Raccoon Valley Radio website, the Courthouse Cornerstone 100-year rededication ceremony story, the Courthouse 100 Facebook page, photos and captions from the Cornerstone 100-year rededication ceremony, newspaper wrappings from the Jefferson Herald from Thursday, May 12, 2016, with the futuristic theme of what it will be like in 100 years. The Jefferson Herald from Thursday, May 19, 2016, with the event of the dedication on May 15, 2016 event. In the time capsule, there will also be the Scranton Journal from Wednesday, May 11, 2016, with the story of the upcoming May 15, 2016 events. The Scranton Journal from Wednesday, May 18, 2016, with the story of the May 15th event. The Des Moines Register from May 15, 2016. The Jefferson Herald from October 26, 2017, with the story on the dedication on today's event from October 27, 2017. There's a farm and home plat and directory. It will list all the county officials in Greene County. It will list all the township officials. It will list all the landowners in Greene County. And it'll be a directory of all rural residencies, and every town included in the county will have a map in it. There's also a Greene County business and tourism guide. There are flags from the United States, flags from Iowa, and flags from Greene County. The Heritage of Greene County, Iowa 2011, which states it's a history of the Greene County book. There is a past and present of Greene County, Iowa publication from 1907. There are bell tower items from Mahaney Memorial Carolyn Tower booklet, the Tower informational palm card, the Tower picture magnet, refrigeration magnet, and also the Tower bell with the towers as the handle. There's a laminated print of the centennial celebration of 100 years of the Jefferson Public Library. There's also a laminated bookmark for the 110th anniversary of the Jefferson Public Library from 1904 to 2014, with a photo of the library and its mission statement. There is a list of county recorders for the last 100 years. And from Home State Bank, there is a 2017 mint proof set of the coins of the United States of America, along with paper currency that they have donated of a $20 bill, 2017, a $10 bill, 2017, a $5 bill, a $2 bill, and a $1 bill. And also information about the future and the use of CHIPS cards, and finally, any type of an alternative payment guide. Can you imagine how big the time capsule is? Thank you.
Well, Mike, all I could think about when you were reading that list is a line from the movie Jaws. We're going to need a bigger boat. In closing, I would like to thank everyone for coming this afternoon, and if you came here this morning for Job and Use, thank you so much. This is what Greene County is all about. I would also like to thank all of our speakers that helped mark our tremendous occasion for today. And in closing, I'd say we will have tours following, and our tours are presented by our committee members. And one thing that you will notice about the committee members that give you the tours, they have a real passion. They have a real passion for the tour that they're going to give you, and they are just rock solid rock stars. So I really thank all of my committee for this year. The song we're going to close with is Deep River from the high school ensemble. And then if you go outside directly after this, there will be a small concert on the bell tower from Becky Greiner. So, high school.